DJ Event Planner will change the way you manage and run your business. Streamline all of your procedures and software into one easy-to-manage system. DJ Event Planner, the ultimate online planning tool.
Up, we are there. Hey, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Tuesday Night with Ben Stowe. And tonight, Ben is on location, and we've got a lot of all of a sudden static coming back at us here.
That's the Empire.
That's the Empire taking over. I think it's my microphone. Must be kind of the phone when it's adjusting to me. That's what it sounds like. So you're gonna have to talk more. So Ben, tell us where you're at tonight.
I am at the Rosco, Texas facility where they make dichroic filters, Gobos, texturizers, and colored glass. A lot of the visual elements that lighting designers find, essential, really. And I'm pretty excited to be here. Not just for the warm welcome that they rolled out for me.
That is pretty awesome.
Also to be amongst some good friends and to see some really, really cool stuff. And unfortunately, we can't show you everything that's cool because this is really a sophisticated and complex facility. I'll tell you that. I just have to take my word for it. But we are going to see a few very cool things.
Very nice. Very nice. I'm not going to be able to talk too terribly much, Ben, because I'm getting a lot of feedback when I talk. It cracks up. So I'm going to just kind of let you work your way through. And if I needed to interrupt with a question or something, I will. Okay.
Is this better, John? I just turned my volume down a little bit.
Maybe. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that helps tremendously. There we go.
I didn't want to listen to you anyway. So,
well, that's not the first time.
So I'd like to introduce a special guest, if I could.
Yeah, let's. Who are we going to be meeting tonight?
This is his house, but my good friend Henry from Rosco is here, and those who went to the lighting symposium will know him.
Yep.
Hey, y'all.
Hello, Henry.
Welcome to Round Rock, Texas.
Very nice.
Here, by the way, John, it was 79 degrees today. So,
I was wondering how long it was going to take for that to come out.
And I apologize, viewers, if it's shaky. I'm obviously on my phone here as I'm out on the road. Get in here, Henry. Come on.
I'm blocking the Darth Vader.
We're going to the facility. He's going to tell us some very cool things about what they do here and how you can use it and make money with it, which is, of course, really cool.
Yeah, what we're here for.
Ultimately, the goal for everyone, right?
For sure. So yeah, take us around a little bit, guys.
All right. Where do you want to start?
All right. Well, so as Ben mentioned, we have to be a little bit cautious about what we see on camera and what we don't, right? So here in the Round Rock facility for Rosco, it's about a 1,200 square foot building, or 12,000 square foot building, excuse me. We've been here since early 1990s, right? Right about when I started here. So I'm at like 22 years this year.
Wow.
So,
yeah, the gray hair, yeah.
Proof is right there. So we make all of the dichroic filters. That's filters, not only just color for color's sake, but that's also all of the filters that we use in all of our multicolor glass Gobos or single color glass Gobos. And that's an important factor that we'll get into a little more when we sit down at the table. But we coat our own dichroic filters. And so I think where we'll start is we'll walk into the chamber room where you can see where we actually physically coat all of this glass that we use either in your moving light fixtures or in your multicolored glass Gobos. So,
and not only is that exceptionally cool, it's also exceptionally rare. Most other places buy glass from people like Rosco who make it. So very, very cool. They control every aspect of the equation.
Yeah, I think the term is vertical integration, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like we have complete control over the process, right? And, it's an important factor, right? Gobos, as we all know, can be the sort of the saving grace for an event, right? And so having a reliable partner, you know, and somebody who's got control over the entire process, you know, we feel is a real differentiator. Right? So what we do here in the Texas office is we process all of the custom orders for North America, so so the United States and Canada. We also have facilities overseas in London and in France. We have multiple operations where we're etching Gobos. That wasn't the case in the early 90s. When I first started here, we used to make all the Gobos for the London office and all of their custom customers as well.
Wow.
We also make all of the
Did you put in for a transfer to London?
Yeah. John did.
Yeah. John is the boss. There we go. The boss man.
Hey
I
there.
didn't get he's the he's the emperor of the empire.
That's right.
So, yeah.
He's the one who got us these nice Gobos. But so we're making all of your custom Gobos here. We're making all the standard steel Gobos. So that's everything in the catalog. There's 900 plus images in there. We make all of those standards here in the Rosco, Texas facility too. So, so in addition to that, we're cutting glass, you know, color for color filter's sake, whether that's in just the front of a Lico, or color filter switch outs for, you know, if you have an automated entertainment lighting, you know, a fixture that has a interchangeable color wheel in it, we can make custom colors for that. We do that both for manufacturers as well as for individuals, right? So it's a pretty full scale operation. Where are we at now? 30 plus people working here, and we're running, used to be running 24/7. I think we've scaled back a little bit, where we got a few hours of the day where the building is actually shut. But,
Yeah, the tech quite busy right now. I was surprised.
yeah, and it's 8 o'clock at night.
One of the things that you mentioned, but I feel bears repeating, is just both in the shot here. So.
Yeah, you're good.
Coffee stick.
Yeah, I do. I really do.
I know what your Christmas present.
You know, actually, a tour I was on, the tour manager got me a selfie stick, and he said, if there's one thing that there's not enough of in the world, it's pictures of you, Ben. So, one of the things I wanted to point out is not only, you know, do you make these custom filters and texturizers and that sort of thing for moving lights and whatnot, but it's not a matter of saying, oh, give me a blue one. It's give me this specific blue one. You can make any color, you know, and that because you control every aspect of the process, you can duplicate that.
Correct. Now, obviously, it becomes ineffective cost-wise to do that on one-offs, but when we get larger projects where we're looking for very, very tight color-specific matches, you know, corporate logos are a really good one, right?
Sure.
Because people live and breathe by their Pantone color, and you can't make them 50 Gobos that are close, right? They have to be exact, and really the point of that is we have the ability to do that, right? So we manufacture all of our own glass for all of our Gobos, which gives us incredible control and unique control in the industry because others are not able to do that, right? Some of the other competitors in the market buy their material from somebody. So they're not only are they a victim of delivery times for that kind of material, but they're also, you know, they're left with what they can get, right? Whereas we kind of tweak.
Yeah, they're hostaged by you know, what's available to them.
Exactly.
Well, can we take a look at the?
Yeah. So we'll walk into the chamber room.
All right, here we go.
So,
You're going to see us walking down the hall.
Ooh, this is the exciting part.
I'm following Henry here, so don't fall down.
So Ben, at some point in time, I had a question that they were asking about dichroic, what dichroic means.
Oh, excellent. I'll tell you what.
Dichroic, right?
Yes.
Right, so we'll get to that in a second, right? So welcome to the Rosco chamber room, right? So if you want to just sort of like, right. So this is our chamber room. So if we spin back around this way.
Are you getting dizzy yet, viewers?
Yeah, just
here. I'll take the camera from Ben. So over there, QC, right? That's where we color. We make sure that the color that we have made matches the standard that we have chosen. And it all starts over here. Let's see. So ultrasonic cleaning tanks, right? So basically, you've got a bath of hot water or a cleaning solution. It's an ultrasonic tank. So we take large plates of glass, right? There's some glass plates, right? So we take those plates of glass, we scrub them, physically clean them and polish them, and then we do an ultrasonic cleaning on them. Once they're clean, we put them in a holding oven, right? So one of these babies, right? That ultimately just keeps the glass warm. Most people don't realize that glass is actually really porous. so it absorbs a ton of moisture while it's just sort of sitting out. So part of what we're doing is we're getting the glass physically clean, so there's no grease or particles on it, but we're also getting it basically completely dry and free of any moisture, right? Any contaminant that would change the dichroic filter color itself, right? So once we get clean glass, we come over here and we put it into the chamber. That's a pretty good shot of the chamber, right? So there's Ben. So you can see this sort of this welding glass looking cosa, right? I don't know what we're going to be able to see down in there. And it's pretty good. Check it out. I know. I'm trying to see what's on your camera, right? So down in that magic, there, Ben is turning over his camera operator, right?
Yeah.
Point it down where you can see the bottom. So you see that right there?
Yeah.
See that little sweep pattern? That is an electron beam gun, right? So basically what I call lightning in a bag, right? So it's a little basically controlled arc of electricity that is vaporizing chemical in that crucible at the bottom, right? So we can explain that here in a second, but that crucible down there is evaporating chemical that then ends up on the glass that's rotating around the top of that system there, right? So that ultimately is a big oven where we're making dichroic glass, right? There's a whole lot of science behind that, but the basis of a dichroic filter is two different things. Do we want? No. Okay, good. So we got titanium dioxide and silicon dioxide, right? So those are the raw materials. Should we move back into the other room? Yeah.
Yeah, we have a dichroic in the other room. We can show them.
We do. All right. So Ben's arm is tired, so I'm carrying the camera.
Yeah, he does get kind of wimpy after a while.
Let me introduce a few more people. So the reason that I'm tired, I've been on a job site with our install guys all day, and let me tell you what, these guys, that's all they do. They're fantastic. They do install work every day, and they're rock stars. Me, I'm old. I push faders on a mixing board, and I sit on airplanes, and that's about what I do. So these guys, they're not near as tired as me. They don't understand why we left after only 12 hours on the job site. But here, I'll do some quick introductions. So from our install team, there is Kyle.
Nice to meet you guys.
And there is Andy over there. And by the way, they're a barrel of laughs. I'll tell you what, I just love being on the road with these guys. Not only are they hard workers, but they have a great sense of humor. And of course, they're an important part of the NLFX family. And I have a very other special guest, a good friend of mine, Kelvin Barnes, who is a touring front of house engineer. So this is one of the guys I call frequently with questions when I can't figure out why I can't make it sound good.
Nice.
All right, so we're moving on to the other room here, right?
We are.
All right, we're following along. Don't get dizzy, viewers. Just stay tuned.
We're not following. Oh, we can bring our light source into the other room, but
We'll be all right. And then I think in the other room here, we will get the answer to the question, what is a dichroic and why would you use it? Why is it superior to a gel? And all kinds of fun things like that.
Sit on the same side, shouldn't we? Here, maybe we can set you up somehow, man.
Well, it almost had a North Woods look there until the cacti there in the background.
Yeah. We are in South Texas.
Yes.
Yeah, no, perfect. John's cutting out.
So. Oh, John's hitting. Hey, everybody say goodbye to John. He can't hear you, but you can say goodbye anyways. Thanks so much, John. John is the boss down here. He's the man. He was very gracious in allowing us
to come in.
He was visibly, I'm not even kidding, this is a true story. He was visibly sweating when we were in the dichroic. So much secret nerdy goodness here. He was visibly sweating.
Oh, that's funny. Let's see if you and I can rig this so you don't have to hold your camera.
He's leaving now, by the way, so we can show you all the secret stuff. I'm sure he won't watch the show. Oh, yes, he will.
Yeah, this one.
Oh, he's still here. Oh, no. Just kidding, John. We were really going to show them next time. Yeah, busted.
So, I was wondering, can you rig it where you can can you get us in here?
Oh, look at this.
Here, we're testing something out.
You know, another little known factor about Rosco is they also make TV lighting. So.
I was gonna say I was actually really surprised. There's a link in.
Move in here. You got to move that way.
For those of you watching, we have a link in the description below where you can go to the NLFX Pro website and click over to the Rosco search. And geez, there's a lot of products I didn't realize that Rosco was doing.
Yes. Well, thank you for noticing. I think we're up to 118,000 SKUs, right?
Oh my goodness!
So Rosco's, our history is in live entertainment, right? In entertainment lighting, whether that's on and off Broadway theatrical performances or special event lighting. DJs, right, fall right into that category.
Sure.
Certainly part of our long history is in broadcast television film because we make color filter, the old plastic gel filters, right? And filmmakers have been using those for decades, right?
Yeah.
In the last 10 years or so, we have, as LED technology is kind of, it's what we call a disruptive technology because for color lighting, traditionally colored lighting was an A light source, which is what I call a hot light. It's a light with a hot wire in it, as opposed to any other version of fluorescent or now LED lighting. A hot light or an A light source with a piece of gel in front of it is your traditional classic way to project colored light. And that was certainly a core element to Rosco's business for, the first 107 years we've been doing it, right? So, as LED technology gets better and better and better, it's what is known as a disruptive technology for us in terms of colored lighting, because now you can get pretty excellent colored lighting out of an LED fixture, right? So therefore, gel sales are changing, right? There's still a lot of that out there, but it is certainly changing, and there are challenges that come with LED lighting. It is not. It's not the same, right? I don't want to say it's not as good because it's getting better and better and better. But,
right.
But I think you would agree that it presents its own set of challenges.
Especially if you look at spectral output. And I know this gets a bit geeky, but I mean, that is sort of the nature of the show, right?
Yeah. I hope so, because that's all I got.
Yeah. The spectral content is really different. And so you have to, when you're talking about what you have in terms of light to begin with, and you talk about a filter that eliminates certain wavelengths to produce a color, you have to treat LED lighting differently than you would, as he said, a hot light or a halogen or any other traditional lamp source, because the initial information is different in what's there.
Right. That's actually a very articulate way of putting it. The way I try to...
That's why I get a show.
I know, right? That's why I'm a guest, not a host.
Hey, by the way, if you can't tell, John and viewers, Henry and I are really good friends. I've been friends a long time.
I enjoy Ben very much.
Yeah.
And this is sort of a treat for sure. So the way that I explain that is I talk about the rainbow that you see in the sky is an example of the visible light spectrum, right? Mm-hmm. That is the best example of what white light or visible light to humans is made up of. It starts in the deep purple because right outside of that is UV, right? And it ends at red because right outside of that is infrared, right? And then one direction or the other, you've got X-rays and gamma rays and all of this. Microwaves are out there somewhere. It's all in this electromagnetic spectrum. The visible portion that we see is this tiny, I have some chart somewhere that says it's like 1.4% of the physical spectrum.
So do you have a gamma ray go?
No.
Can you make that? But I want that.
But the price is right, man.
Is that the top secret thing we can't show?
Yeah, that's the gamma Gobo machine. I like that.
Yeah.
I have to make that up.
Stay tuned, viewers, for the gamma Gobo machine.
That's right. It might just be an empty box, but
it's already
it's right. But so back to this rainbow, right? And what Ben was talking about is like the light source starts with a certain amount of spectral information. So a traditional source, a hot light source, is going to, if you look on the back of boxes of light bulbs these days, it now has kind of spectral information on it. And you'll see a little chart, and it might have just a little bit of the purples and squeaking into cyan, but pretty rich in the red. And that's why those old light bulbs that I grew up with anyway have a very warm sort of orange cast to them, right? And whereas more modern lights are kind of green or blue, right?
Yeah.
An LED, out of that visible spectrum, an LED is literally a spike of red, a spike of blue, a spike of green. And you can take those three colors, and if you remember, at least they taught it to me in school, they teach you color mixing and a color wheel and all
Yeah.
that. Well, you can make all the other colors out of red, blue, and green. And that's how an LED color mixing light works. If you get an RGB light, that you can mix a lot of colors out of that. The RGBW adds a white element to it, so you can kind of get hues and tonality to it. But that's how an LED is working. The trick is it's only using these tiny little spikes out of that full rainbow of color. And the only time that's really going to matter is if you're shining it on a white wall, it's fine, right? But the minute you start to try to light a costume or a wedding dress or a bridal shower color aspect, then suddenly you can't add information to a light source that doesn't have it, right? You can't put a filter in front of something and make it give you a color that doesn't exist in the light source itself. So It's kind of geeky and sciencey, but it's what I call feeding the pigment, right? Like I do a color lecture where I talk about paint and light and colored light, and you can't add something to a light source if it's not there to begin with, right? So a filter is only ever taking things away, right? So that's one of the sort of the inherent challenges with lighting with LEDs versus a traditional light source and a plastic filter, right? So anyway, back to Rosco, Texas. So you guys just saw what we call the chamber room. That's where we coat all of our dichroic glass. As Ben pointed out, that dichroic glass is what we make our gobos with, our multicolored glass gobos with. So we have complete control over the process, right? So that system you saw running back there, that's for you, buddy. Oh, thank you. We were coating big 13-inch plates of glass. So, here, can you make this where we can see ourselves again a little bit?
Oh, make it bigger so we can see us? Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Just so I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So this is a red filter. See if I can get it. Yeah,
There we go.
now
We can see it.
Yeah, right. So, but it's also a mirror, right? So there's our we've rigged our camera on there. Right?
Nice.
But
This is low budget TV.
so but high production value.
There you go.
Nothing but the best.
We spent all our money on the talent.
That's the way I like to say it.
All right, so this is a red filter, right? But it's also a mirror. So a dichroic filter is dichroici, I believe, is the Italian root word for two colors or two.
You're just making that
chemicals.
up.
No,
you're making that up.
Someone will look it up for us and
Take a poll, John.
they'll tweet that back at us, right?
I think he's right, actually.
The point is, it's two materials. It's a titanium dioxide and silicon dioxide, and you can make dichroic filters out of some other materials depending on the wavelengths that you need to control. But the most common, certainly in the entertainment world, is going to be titanium dioxide and silicon dioxide. What that is silicon dioxide is just pure silica. It's just the cleanest of pure glass, right? And titanium dioxide is a low refractive index material. It's titanium pellets that we vaporize, right? So what we're creating when we coat that is we're creating a layer stack on this piece of glass that is a specific number of layers thick and a specific thickness for each layer. And all that is a layer of high refractive, low refractive, high refractive, low refractive. So we're controlling the reflection and ultimately then controlling what's not reflecting. So you can see this looks pretty much like a mirror because it's a really dark red, right? If it were a yellow, it would be mostly clear. You could see right through it with just a little bit of this reflective surface. But the point is they're the exact same concept. It's a technical mirror that is either allowing light to go through or it's bouncing it back. That's different than a gel, like a traditional Rosco gel, which is what's called an absorptive media. So a red plastic is allowing red light through, and all the other light in the rainbow is absorbing into the plastic. That's why a plastic filter will fade over time. It's why a plastic gobo will fade over time versus a glass filter, right? So a glass filter in color is going to be much more robust in high heat situations, and it's going to last ultimately forever. If you're not stressing the material beyond its limits, then technically the color filter should last forever.
Can we
Yeah, sure. This is spectral. So this is spectral data for this filter that I just
see
pulled.
mostly reds that are coming through
Right.
the upper tier.
So if you imagine this being your rainbow, right?
Okay.
You've got basically UV down here. That's like 360 nanometers, right? That's the scale. A nanometer's here and percentage of light passing here. So you got a little bitty spike down there in the blue, and then basically nothing all through blues and cyans and greens, and then as you start to get into yellow and oranges, and then red. So it's allowing everything in the red spectrum through, and nothing else except for a little spike in blue, right? So that's just the signature wave of this particular color, and that's kind of how it's done in terms of dichroic glass.
How are our viewers doing, John? Any questions so far?
They're just watching and following along here, and a couple of people have been asking where the link is for going to the website and getting some different films, filter film ordered. So,
NLFX.com.
Yeah.
I don't know if all. I mean, we carry about 100,000 SKUs as a company, plus their 118,000 SKUs.
Yeah, right.
So I don't know how much that stuff actually is on our website. But as always, you just reach out to one of our staff. We'll be happy to help you find which one of the 118,000 SKUs of theirs that you want, or one of the other 100,000 SKUs that we carry. So.
Right. Yeah. No. It's all available, whether it's on the website or not, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
We're always, you know, and even though I'm on the road right now, our staff is monitoring my messages, my social media account, that sort of things. Obviously, everybody's message is very important. We want to make sure everybody gets taken care of. You know, I spent the entire day working at height, and obviously for safety reasons, I can't be checking my phone while I'm working at height with heavy loads. You know, that has to be given the highest degree of consideration, both for my safety and for the safety of everybody who's going to walk underneath what I'm rigging. So,
all right.
It's the cupcake test.
You know, we still need to do that. We really, really do. So I don't know. This was a show many, a couple of years ago.
Oh yeah, one of our early shows.
Thing about me cupcakes pretty cool to me.
Oh, we had my good friend Mike Cronin, who is a ETCP certified rigger, and we celebrated. I think it was his birthday.
Yep.
Right? His birthday, sitting on beams in an arena about 60 feet up, and we were eating cupcakes that we actually had the cupcakes sent up to us. We pulled them up just like we would a motor. And we were sort of wondering what would happen if one was to drop that cupcake, what the splatter pattern would look like. And now Mike has moved on again. He took over a different post as an operations director down in Atlanta, and now he's a facility supervisor for Mizzou. So he was sending me pictures from an SEC wrestling match the other day.
Nice.
Anyway, so you know, we'll just have to do it without Mike, and we'll send the results. We'll do that.
It's an important study. We have to do it.
I think. Don't you think so?
I think if you just eat cupcakes every time you're up there, eventually it's just going to happen. So.
Yeah, we tether our tools, but we don't tether our cupcakes.
You really just continue to eat cupcakes, and this is going to, it's going to present itself.
Don't tempt me with a good
So,
all right. Well, so
back to
some geeking out on glass. Or did you have a question?
Yeah, I wanted to, when you showed that little chart there that showed exactly what light was coming through. There we go. Now, do you have some then that will even be a narrower band? You know, when you get to the right, you mentioned that there were some yellows and orange and red coming through. I mean, is there
anything?
Yeah. So this is literally the QC sheet out of this piece of glass, right? So my GM John there said, "Here, use this piece," right, and just handed it to us out of the lab. So this document lives with this piece of glass and will go on the shelf that way. So every piece of glass has got that. So this is a red. So this is going to look.
Piece of glass gets tested.
Right. So we're QCing them, and the way that coding system works is we dial up a program. If you've ordered a particular color that we don't have glass sitting here, then we put it on the schedule and we make it. Right. So we make the color specific for your order, and obviously we make additional material for stock so that we're not having to make it every time somebody calls. But that color, we pull up the design. The design is literally the number of layers and the thickness of each of those layers that I was talking about of TiO2, SiO2, TiO2, SiO2. It's just a controlled mirror. It's a controlled bounce of light. Well, the result for the red is this is the filter, right? If this were blue, it would... that didn't quite equate. No.
We need to reverse
well, if it were blue, this would be at 0, and this end would be open, right? So this is I don't know if you can see it. It says 0 to 100 on the edge there, right? Yep. And then these are the nanometer readings. So imagine this is your rainbow, red, infrared over here, violet, ultraviolet over here. So if we wanted a cyan filter, for example, cyan lives right around in there. So it's going to be flat, it's going to spike up for cyan, it's going to come back down, and it's going to go flat out, right? If greens and magentas are the hardest because they're what's called a notch filter, right? So a green would be passing all of this information in the middle and not allowing anything on the other end. And the magenta is just the opposite. So the magenta would come in allowing all of this and then nothing right in the middle and then back up and out. So greens and magentas are the toughest because they have two of these, what we call a half power point or 50% mark on this 50% transmission line, and where this slope hits it is a critical QC factor. So when you have a magenta or a green, there's actually two. So if it gets narrower or wider, it changes the way the color looks. And so all of it, the result of it is that it's a pretty scientific process and it's pretty well controlled, but things can still go wrong and we end up with color that ultimately doesn't pass QC. It's still excellent filter. It's just at that point we call it library color and we match it to a gel filter and we put it on the maybe shelf, right? So if you call up in a panic and I have something just outside of QC, but you need it to leave today, then I have an option for you.
Sure.
You see why I like this guy? By the way, people have had the chance to listen to Henry at previous lighting symposiums, and I think we're going to have her back in April. For the rebirth of the lighting symposium.
I'm going to take over.
I have no doubt. The nerdery and the scientific, you can see why I love this guy. Here's a little nerdy nugget, people, and this just totally shattered my poor daughter's view of color, but pink doesn't really exist. Pink is a figment of your imagination. That's why it's a notch. In the film world, they maybe would call it minus green. It's just the absence of green. And if you want to know why, that's another show.
I agree, but the reality is I teach a lecture about the orange is not really orange, right? So you hold an orange in your hand, it's not orange, it's just reflecting orange light and absorbing all the other light, right? And a good way to learn this lesson or to teach it to, if you're a teacher or student or whatever, you want to share this kind of weird geeky knowledge. If you have an RGB LED fixture, you can absolutely do this. And here's the fun. So I'm sharing a workshop secret with you, right?
All right.
Okay.
The lighting symposium is already sold out. So
okay, good. So go buy M&Ms, right? Go buy a bag of M&Ms, and if you want to make it really hard, buy 2 bags of M&Ms from 2 totally different stores, because then you'll learn about industrial dye batching and how and a whole nother lesson, right? But take those M&Ms, throw them out on the table, or what I do for a workshop is I'll take a piece of poster board and I'll divide it up into, I think there's 6 colors. So there's brown and yellow and blue and orange and red and something else. Anyway, the point is you get a bunch of different colored M&Ms. I usually grid out the paper and then write the color number in each of the grids, and then I just put them in a pile. And then the trick is you got to go totally dark, and then you turn on just red or just blue or just green. Right, and so when you do that, you'll realize that all the M&Ms look like brown or shades of brown or really weird olive colors.
and that's really cool. You know what I do with M&Ms?
Eat them.
I eat them. Yeah.
Well, I always eat them afterwards, but there's a few folks with kind of OCD that they look at me after I've let 35 people play with M&Ms, and I'm going.
They're looking at the spectral response of each LED.
No, they're looking at me going, wait. Didn't all these people just touch those M&Ms? And I'm
that's a good point.
Candy coated.
Most of your mouth on your hands.
No, but the point of that lesson though is to show you that if you're only pouring red light onto something, then some of the colors in the spectrum aren't going to show up. It's why an orange isn't an orange. It isn't orange, right? It is reflecting orange light, right? And so it's a great lesson. And it's really kind of a fun party game. But the trick is you got to go total darkness because your eye has to reset. If you have any sort of visible light, then you can cheat it and you can tell which colors are which because of just that minute amount of white light that's coming in. But if you go total darkness and then just turn on one of the 3, RGB and do them all, right? Check each one of them. And then the game is, okay, divide them up into the correct colors, right? So put all the yellow ones in the yellow spot and the blue ones are in the orange. Right?
I don't know why more people don't invite you over for game night.
I don't know, right? Anyways, all right, so.
Okay, so what we're going to do here
I think that's your fault. So this is a piece of gobo glass, right? So maybe this is a better way to do this. So this is a multicolored glass gobo that we make. This is just a generic pattern. Here, you have to make it big again so I can see.
There we go.
All right. So hard to see, but
Yep.
I wonder if I can put a light source behind it. Not really. Not really.
Yeah, not really so much.
Yeah,
There we go.
kind of reads, right? Anyway, you see, it's a multicolored piece of glass. So that gobo is made up of little layers of different colors of glass, right? So I have in my,
You have the layers.
if I have in my lovely hand, I've got yellow.
Now you notice, viewers, I just
Yeah,
want to
let's
point this out. You
take this.
notice that he said this is yellow, but it actually looks blue to you
Yeah.
because it's reflecting all that blue light.
Right.
It's
So
only allowing yellow light to
it's
pass
that-
through, but it's reflecting black blue light.
the color opposite. That's one of the cool things about dichroic, right? So maybe we can do this here, right? Let's see if I can make it shine on the wall behind me. Can you really see? Oh, it ain't working, is it? Right?
No, not quite.
I don't have enough light, right? I'm trying to.
It's all right. It's all right.
You understand what I'm attempting?
Oh yeah,
to do,
yeah,
right?
yeah. You can see
Actually,
that.
if you hang this kind of stuff in your window, you'll see that color opposite will be dancing around the room because it's reflecting the opposite color. But back to these little things. So this gobo that I just showed you, this multicolored glass gobo, it could be a company logo, it could be whatever. But so there's a little thin layer of cyan, a little thin layer of yellow. Sorry, I'm trying to hold this.
Yeah.
There we go. Cyan, yellow, magenta, right? And then a chrome layer, which is black, or it's reflective, or it looks like a shiny mirror, but it's what we call chrome, or a K layer of black. Printers know this, CMYK printing, if you've ever done any magazine, post-up layout work, anything in Photoshop, CMYK or RGB. We operate in CMYK, right? That's how we make gobos. But if you'll notice, those are the three layers, and if I just sort of magically just kind of stack them all together, right, and get to a position, it's pretty close to what I've got right there.
Sure.
Obviously, this is very specific. It can be lined up. There's registration marks and all that. But that's how a gobo is made. What I think is really cool, so this is just a random plate.
Well, I was just going to say, I've seen their gobo making process where they're assembling these layers and curing them together, and it is incredibly detail oriented. It is phenomenal. First of all, the volume of gobos they're producing. Second of all, how perfectly, and it would have to be, because you're taking this image and enlarging.
Blowing it up hundreds and hundreds of times. I mean, right, when you start with a gobo that's that big, right, and then you put it on the wall, and it's
well, and the size of some of these
40
gobos.
feet in diameter.
Am I allowed to mention the?
Yeah, I have it in here somewhere.
Oh, there they are. Oh, look
These
at this.
these are new tests, right?
I can't hardly pick it up.
This is a glass gobo with a 4 millimeter image area.
Yeah, that's a gobo.
Holy cat!
That's a gobo. And,
Right.
and when it's an image. It's the level of detail that Rosco is capable of is unreal. They use a variety of different methods. I'm probably not allowed to discuss them, but they have a lot of tools in their toolkit, and they make incredibly detailed gobos. Incredibly.
Hey, look, there's our science example.
Yeah, there you go.
It's reflecting. See my face?
Yep.
So that's a reflection of this, right? So you can see that's got sort of this weird bluey green cast to it.
Yep.
I thought that was your face.
This is a magenta. It could be just my evil. But what I love to show people, so this is a piece of glass. This is what a gobo, before these are cut out, right? So this is magenta. This plate is magenta. So that used to live right there, right?
Okay.
So this is a 6-inch piece of glass. This is 0.7. Now this is 0.3. 0.3 millimeter thick glass, right? So check that out. Right? Is that translating?
Oh yeah, you can see it bend a little bit.
Right.
Yeah, they're bending that glass, and it is so thin.
It's crazy, right? And when
Yeah.
I first started working here, we were making gobos on 1 millimeter thick glass, and now this is like 0.3, right?
Wow.
The chrome layer is, I think, is a 0.7. So the chrome's a little thicker, and then the colors are thinner. But the whole gobo is now thinner than, or just within a quarter millimeter of the same thickness of one layer from, 1990 7.
Let me tell you, if you think you're an imaging nut, I know we got some great imaging, nuts, people that are really into imaging and lighting and that sort of thing. No matter how much of an imaging nut or a lighting nut you think you are, these people here are just, they're bonkers over it. I mean, it's like imaging and this sort of thing is just their thing. It's incredible to just be around here and realize, I think I'm a pretty technically savvy guy. I mean, I think I'm a pretty capable and knowledgeable guy, and you walk around and you go, wow.
Yeah, well,
I can't hold my own in this conversation.
The funny part about that thing is it's the lighting manufacturers that have kind of done this to us, right? Because as the optics get better in these fixtures, it becomes a necessity, really.
Sure.
Halftones of the 90s don't work anymore because now it looks grainy and bushy, and even sort of inexpensive fixtures have pretty tight optics, and so it's kind of a necessity of the nature of the way the business has gone, right? The imaging quality just has to have come along, otherwise the same gobo we made in 1997 would look terrible on the wall now, and yet we were so proud of them back then.
Oh yeah, the technology.
Well, in the interest of progress, I mean, a lot of things have changed since 1990.
Oh, I know. Like every time I walk in the back, we were in the back earlier, and I was laughing to myself because all of that equipment, like I grew up here with the analog version of everything you saw back there. We had computer-driven CNC cutting machines and all this crap. Yeah, I did that with like a hand scriber. Yeah. So
that machine was pretty wild. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, what is that? Uphill both ways in the snow. I think that was when I was a kid. Anyway, so that's the gist. This technology right here is the exact same, even if your gobo is a ½ inch in diameter, right? And this example that Ben was talking about earlier, this little 4 millimeter 4 millimeter image area. I think it's a 7 millimeter square or a 10 millimeter square with a 4 millimeter image area.
Well, I was going to say, you got to point out that the gobo is actually smaller than the piece of glass we're holding. Yeah. It's not, the circle is not cut out of the square yet because we couldn't hold it. It was so small.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It is obscene, yeah.
But so, you go from that tiny little gobo to the B-size one we showed. Here's another example. This is just a black and white gobo. Sorry, I have to switch this camera so I can see what I'm doing.
Yeah,
so there's a bunch of snowflakes, right?
Yeah.
And that's just your black plate, right? And then other capabilities that we have in the building. So this is like an animation disc. Rosco makes a kind of an old school animation machine called the Infinity animation disc system, right? It goes out in front of a Leco. So you have, the barrel of the fixture and this thing running past it, creating sort of this flipper top.
How about a little fire scarecrow?
Right. We do the same thing in this. This is in metal. We're etching that in our metal etch line. We also have the capability of laser cutting plastic here. So we've made paint stencils for folks to paint road cases with. A whole variety of different stuff. And speaking of plastic, right? Ben is familiar with the Rosco Cool Ink and Cool Ink HD products. Those are our plastic gobos. I don't know that a lot of people know. Plastic gobos are pretty common these days because LEDs have kind of taken over the sort of the medium to low end projection equipment. There's a lot of LED fixtures that will accept plastic gobos.
Sure.
A lot of manufacturers are presenting them as print your own kind of a thing. And that's absolutely possible. Rosco offers a pretty competitively priced plastic gobo that we print. What you're getting when you're doing that is, one, the plastic we're using is proprietary. It's kind of like photo paper version of office paper, right? We have a specially coated plastic that we manufacture that essentially absorbs ink better than like transparency film that you might get at Office Max or something like that, right? So you can, but you can absolutely make your own. And for what a lot of people don't realize is we've been making the plastic gobos now for about 15 years because we made this thing called the Image Pro slide projector about 10, 12, 15 years ago. And what it is, it kind of looks like a gobo rotator. It only fits in a Leco style fixture into the iris slot of a Leco, right? For those that don't know, that'd be your. What are the ones that you sell the most of?
Well, we sell a bunch, but it'd be, you hear them called other things like source 4, ellipsoidal, that sort of thing, framing spot.
Right.
Some examples might be the Eternal Ultra or the E50 from Chevet, or American DJ has these hard edge fixtures, Ovation from Chevet Pro, that sort of thing. But any of your hard edge framing spot type fixtures, industry vernacular Lico maybe.
The Lico, right? And like Ben mentioned, Source 4 ATC's product is probably the most pervasive out there. It used to be the Altman 360Q for those who like Shakespeare, Altman Shakespeare. Just a general workhorse of the theatrical industry. That fixture has a slot that takes a Gobo rotator, and things like that. The image spot went in that slot, and it basically was a very simple fan and a series of glass, like heat shield type filters that allowed us to basically print a plastic gobo and put it into this unit that kind of looks like a rotator, and then put that into the ellipsoidal.
Which is important to note, I think, when you talk about your Coolink HDs, you mount them in a bezel, and you protect them from the heat of the fixture. It's really, even though he's the manufacturer, I categorically kind of wince when he compares it to transparency paper you would get at Office Max, because that's sort of like comparing a little red wagon to a NASCAR,
Well, and I mean, you raised the point I think that I was trying to make, which is that printing your own, while possible, is a pretty poor substitute for proper made Gobo. One, I've got the computer software in the form of Photoshop and Illustrator and all these other things where I can tweak your image, we can boost colors, we can change, because when it actually prints out, if you do nothing to your image, it's going to be a pretty pale comparison. So we oversaturate things, and we really, we go in and we retypeset things on
your art layers.
Right.
And so not just one layer of transparency.
Right. These are just examples of the physical print of the thing not mounted in a bezel, obviously. And I know a lot of your customers love these things, but the Coolink HD is the one that we're able to get ultimately a completely opaque black in, and it's ultimately a proprietary secret, but it's not. We're not printing all the layers of a Coolink HD, right? So it allows us to get completely opaque. We sandwich it between glass, and we put it in a nice bezel so that you got what feels like a glass Gobo, but it's it's plastic.
Yeah, and it's a pretty pro product, and it's the same price as steel.
Yep.
But one of the things that I want to point out, if viewers are wondering, Coolink HD is an excellent temporary solution, excellent short-term solution, but over time they will fade and they will bleach out with these, particularly with the high light energy glass. I have glass Gobos that I use at Arena for a university hockey program they're Rosco, and they're going on 8 or 9 years old, 8 or 9 seasons, and they look excellent. So
right, and that's actually an interesting point, I think, for this audience. If you're using the same image over and over and over again, if you can manage not to date it, don't put August 21st, 2017 on it, right? And then you can use it every year for an event, or if you have regular quarterly events, or maybe you just have a regular lighting setup that you do, for particular weddings, bar mitzvahs, whatever type of party that maybe you're running. If you have a regular lighting setup, there may be a time of which it's worth it financially to invest in a full color glass Gobo that you could use over and over and over again. So,
and self promotion here. Sorry, shameless promotion, but steel Gobos, of course, require tabbing to hold the image together, and that limits the amount of image you can put into a space and the amount of resolution you can have. So Rosco and NLFX, like here's our Darth Vader Gobo. You can see it.
There you go.
So we're limited.
Here, we'll put Ben in the shot and me not in the shot.
We're limited by the amount of cuts you can make in the steel before the steel falls apart.
Right.
So Rosco and NLFX have teamed up for an incredibly low price black and white glass Gobo option. So just something to kind of put in the back of your mind, that if you're looking for an extremely high resolution black and white image, we can do that in glass for you for typical moving head sizes or smaller sizes. at an incredible price.
Nice.
Yeah, really.
Nice.
Yeah,
Guys,
Is that John?
we are just about out of time here tonight. A couple of comments from the chat room. Of course, they've been talking about different filters and such that they wanted to get. And one shared that Michael shared that he finds it enjoyable that someone is out nerding Ben Stowe.
Well done, buddy.
Wow.
So,
All right, so excuse us while we gotta change the camera angle now.
I just lost my show.
yeah, there we go.
Out nerding Ben Stowe. I
Yeah,
think that's pretty epic. Well,
that
you
is.
know, whoever you are, props to you.
Let
Right?
me tell you, we've been a few of them on various shows we've had over the past several years. Truth is, I have a lot of friends who can out nerd me, and I think there's a decent amount of information contained in here, but probably the most valuable thing I have is my contact
Your
list.
network.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
Yeah,
I think we
know who to get the answer from.
right. I have no idea, but I know someone who does.
that
One of the
works.
really scary things happened to me the other day, John, when a friend of mine who's on that list called me and said, "I really need your help," and I kind of said, "Wait, but I call you."
You're the guy I call for help.
That's kind of it's a scary moment when you realize you're in somebody's Rolodex too. You know? You're like, oh.
So did you have other questions
I
about there,
think
John?
I think
Anything else?
that's about it. They've been kind of just watching and talking about taking notes and such. So I think good stuff there, guys.
Right on,
And we need to
right
wrap
on.
up because we've got our next show coming up here in just a few minutes. So
Right on.
Henry,
Okay,
thank you very
so
much
that's,
for the tour and such. A lot of great information, a lot of things I didn't even know. Gosh, and I've been doing these shows with Ben for 3 years now, and he hasn't
Cool.
told me most of this stuff.
He hasn't shared.
No. I
Yeah.
feel,
What he doesn't know is that he's not getting out of here alive. So, so everyone say goodbye to Ben.
so thanks, guys. We'll be right back here in about 10 minutes with our second show tonight. Henry, Ben, thank you much for your time tonight, guys. Good night.
Thanks, y'all. Take care.